Amazon is experiencing a huge churn of employees, of turnover. The company recognizes this and doesn't seem to be doing much about it. And in 2020, we decided that we were going to file a proposal because we needed to focus on the governance of this. How ultimately is there going to be a ownership and responsibility and ultimately accountability for employees?
Hi, Marcela. Thank you very much for your time for our interview. I'm so buzzing to talk to you. And let me ask you about the Amazon's case first. Could you tell me the stories behind the shareholder proposal to them about the separating the role of the board of chairman, in this case, the Jeff Bezos? Could you tell me?
Investors like us who look at environmental, social, and governance performance in our companies, we have been working to address many facets of Amazon's performance along ESG. At Zevin, we focus on three main dimensions of ESG: climate change in all its forms, racial justice, and governance. Ultimately, how is ESG and impact governed at a company and overseen? We think that Amazon has had many challenges as it grew, and it's a great investment, but we also noted that Amazon was falling short of its commitments and its responsibilities to treat employees how they should be treated from a dignity point of view, but also from a talent recruitment and retention point of view. So that's the S. There's also environmental issues with Amazon and governance, which I'll get to. So on the workers, even before the pandemic, Amazon was having challenges recruiting and retaining employees. And from a health and safety perspective, from a well-being perspective, and in some ways diversity also, and recognizing the unique challenges that minorities face in the workforce. All of this was amplified with the pandemic. Amazon workers in the US suddenly became essential workers with all the commerce and people buying products online and getting them delivered. It really became a focus for us and many other investors looking at the S dimension. Amazon is experiencing a huge churn of employees, of turnover. The company recognizes this and doesn't seem to be doing much about it. And in 2020, we decided that we were going to file a proposal because we needed to focus on the governance of this. How ultimately is there going to be a ownership and responsibility and ultimately accountability for employees? So we identified that if Jeff Bezos was going to be stepping down as CEO and assuming a board chair position, we identified that as a crucial point of change, or rather the lack of change. We didn't think there was much of a difference just switching seats that way. And Jeff Bezos as a founder, as a large shareholder, and with his presence, we didn't think there would be much difference. So our proposal asked for an independent chair policy, meaning that whoever is doing that role as board chair should not be somebody like Jeff Bezos with the influence that he has. So that's why we directly went to the heart of the matter. We don't think that Amazon can improve its record without making drastic changes at the governance level, and hence why we filed.
Thank you. I know that it takes a long time to negotiate with the big tech companies like Amazon, but you have already gotten the 14% approval rate. I'm sure that you have been, in talk with a lot of institutional investors, but were they interested in this, topic from the beginning? Could you tell me?
Yes, we are members of the Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility, or ICCR. There's a number of investors who have formed actually a working group to map out all the issues that we think are relevant and important for Amazon. So we partner with large asset managers, asset owners, advocacy organizations, and other investment managers to map out, like I said, the issues and board oversight, human rights, the impact of technology on users, and that means privacy, the collection, retention, and use of data about customers. Also labor and workplace rights and worker health and safety, racial justice and diversity, product safety, and things like climate change, packaging, transportation, logistics, and their influence on lobbying at the policy level, and whether they are working to advance climate mitigation and advance the adoption of renewables or not. We look closely at how companies are donating to political parties or lobbying through third-party organizations. And that's a very US-centric type of angle that we also take with Amazon. And all of this is going to be in our 2022 agenda as a group. For Zevin, I think we'll continue board oversight at the governance level. What is Amazon doing to change its structure?
That's brilliant. Thank you. A little bit on the more about the Amazon's working environment, because I heard that lots of Amazon's workers are now under the severe conditions. The report said that the injury rate of the Amazon warehouse, are much higher than the usual average case. That was from LA Times. Do you take this as a DEI issue? Could you tell me your perspective?
For sure, we're worried about the health and safety record, especially with Amazon claiming that it wants to be the world's safest place to work, the world's best employer. We find that statement lacks credibility when they are not paying attention or enough attention to issues at the worker level. Yes, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a company-wide issue that we are paying a lot of attention to. But, at the C-suite and at the board level, that's one area. We are more focused on their workforce, their fulfillment employees, the delivery employees at distribution and fulfillment centers. We think that workers that apply for these jobs are, a lot of them living paycheck to paycheck. We know from research that during well, we're still in the pandemic, but in the worst parts of the pandemic in 2020, It's African Americans and Latin populations that have been disproportionately affected. Also, women who are taking the brunt of childcare during the pandemic. We know that this particular constituency is very affected by the conditions at any workplace, but also at Amazon fulfillment centers and other areas. It's been the case that job retention has been difficult because the hours are punishing, or there isn't enough paid sick leave to take care of a family member who's sick, or because you're perhaps a single parent and cannot care for your child and work at the same time. These are all challenges that are exacerbated in minority populations. So I think this is a very important area for Amazon to be paying attention to. What are the unique circumstances and impacts for working women of color, for example? Freedom of association is another area of struggle for Amazon, which has been defensive about its claim that it does want to allow employees to unionize, but clearly it's not true based on various reportings. So we are also questioning Amazon's willingness to work with its employees. We are planning on having a dialogue with the company on the issue of how it really is implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments when there are all of these challenges that it's clearly not addressing. Yeah, I think the pandemic just exposed the huge gaps that exist, and it was time to make a change. I also think that there has been a lot of momentum building up over the years, that just this was the year to get those majority votes and do a really huge systematic push.